will try to make it quick as possible. Hi, I'm Kulbhushan. I think she introduced myself. Currently work as head of data science at Tata AIG. Around काफी सारे company change किया. I've changed a lot of companies and now currently at Tata AIG. So I'm here because a lot of talk is going around GenAI. I'm not going to talk a lot of technical things because very few people have left. Almost everyone has left, and less people are there. So just want to make it quick. So I just want to, can people raise your hands? I think I will do it differently. All of you raise your hands? How many people of you have their own health insurance, not corporate? You can keep your hands down. Whoever has, just keep your hands up. जिसके भी है हाथ ऊपर रखो, जिसका नहीं है हाथ नीचे रखो. So you guys don't have your own health insurance. You have. So you should have. ठीक है, I'll ask you. How many people have their own health insurance? Quite a few. How many people have their life insurance? Right. I think all Gen Zs have left, so we'd have a better, मतलब थोड़ा अच्छा distribution होता था. But the idea is everyone should have their own health insurance. I'm not promoting my own organization, but just telling you for your own safety and risk, you should have everyone should have their own health insurance. So without further ado, I'll start. We've been talking about Gen AI for so long. I don't think a lot of people spoke about traditional AI. I think it's become traditional now, not traditional, but nowadays people, the classical AI, traditional AI, the data science, the earlier ML has become traditional AI. It's gone in the wind, nobody's talking about it because there is no money right now at this point of time. Generative AI is picking up, but there are different things which traditional AI can do and Gen AI cannot do at this point of time. Future is different. The things can change over the period of time. We have seen my whole PPT changed over the course of 2 weeks. And DeepSeek came and everything went for a toss. And I had to change my PPT again. So now there are a lot of buzzwords like chain of thought. People have been talking about chain of thought. आजकल वो बड़ा buzzword है. R1 and chain of thoughts and DeepSeek are the 3 buzzwords you will see everywhere in social media. But we need to understand that at this point of time, a lot of businesses have already spent a lot of money in doing the traditional AI or the deep learning. How are you going to convince your business leaders to make sure that you Gen AI journey pe chala jao, which is very expensive and non-revenue generating at this point of time? It spends a lot of money. Obviously, you are going to spend a lot of money. A lot of things will remain in POC. How do you expect your superiors or the business stakeholders put in a lot of money? How do you approach them and make sure that it helps them? So first, you know what traditional AI does. It can analyze the data. It is designed, or the algorithm is only for solving specific tasks like churn, for example, or retention, for example, finding frauds, for example. Gen AI can do all the creative things. It's understand who are going to churn and be creative around it, try to frame a lot of great messages and push back to the customer. At our organization, we haven't pushed everything to the customer yet. So we are trying to test it internally. So the customers are our the business stakeholders who are the people who are going to consume the data and consume the model outcome. So that we get to test how the hallucinations are behaving before going into the end audience. So that's what I said. Traditional is like engine, which will start your car, but generative AI is like more lot of design and customizations you're going to put on the top of the car. So that will help your car look better. Second is, what happens if we start to combine them both? Right now, we have always been seeing on a different lenses, ki traditional AI, Gen AI. What happens once we start to combine them both? So right now, a lot of things, I think Taranit aake gaya, Saurav aake gaya, and the Mathco morning, they all talk about AI agents, making the workflows efficient, automating a lot of tasks. So automating tasks, we used to do earlier also writing rule-based engine. But over the due course of time, the rules-based engine changed to ML. Now what is happening is people suddenly want everything to be Gen AI made. But that's not going to happen so soon. And it's going to be very difficult and costly affair. Because you already have traditional AI models built. Why you want to replace those and build something new which is not yet proven yet? Or there are a lot of advancements which are happening. I'm not saying we should not do it. We should continue to reinvent because we need to adapt it much better. Because the people who survive in the industry are able to adapt it. That's what was the first part of my stand, which Stephen Hawking said. So we just need to be more intelligent at adapting what is happening. But we should not forget what is already present in the organization. That's why I said, what happens if we try to combine them both? Because when you look at the business, typically business look at this eight value AI framework. These are the only activities when you try to push your AI strategy around in place. Ki, when you want to put an AI strategy to convince leaders or business stakeholders, these are typically the 8 octave framework which we'll talk about. This will the AI will help you solve these problems basically. But what happens when you combine both? The problem with Gen AI is still a black box, but traditional AI can tell you what is happening and why. It becomes more explainable at this point of time. So combining will help you to get the best of both worlds. So you can use Gen AI for creativity, while you can use the traditional AI for more explainability. In the areas where we need explainability in the picture, for example, banking, health, insurance, they are more important because, for example, take an example, if you want to do generate a credit risk or risk score, the underwriters need to know, oh, why this person is risky. He can look at all the data and understand the riskiness, but if an AI model tells him this is a risky patient without explainability, he's able to understand better and to better frame the risk. Or how do you add loadings to the customer? Which are the additional products can be offered to reduce or minimize the risk for the consumer and for the company as well. So what synergy? Why will you combine, and what can happen both? So for example, you can have better, smarter workflows. You can orchestrate your you can say the rule-based engine or the rule-based ML better. It will help you in boosted productivity because a lot of strategic decisions which have been taken by a custom or a person within your organization can be given through the Gen AI or agentic AI. That will help you drive your lot of decision-making processes. So your workflows are automated, your rules are automated, your ML is automated, and the last part is the decision-making, or you can say the strategy is also quite automated. So you will need people, but lesser people. Uh, I will just talk about 4 use cases which currently we are working or we are planning to work in future. One is about being more contextual in terms of, so for example, we are into insurance business. So probably what we try to do is make sure customer renews our product, make sure we get new customers, make sure the customer does not churn, and identify the risky customers. Because risk is associated with the loss ratio. The more riskier the customer, the more loss we take. So we need to identify how do we communicate with the customers. For example, today, as of today, when the renewal comes into picture, a lot of agents will keep calling you. They will pester you about your renewal is due, your renewal is due. Imagine if I build a system where I know what is the renewal rate. If I know the renewal propensity of certain person is about 90% or 80%. So I know definitely he's going to buy the product. Second, he is a low risky customer because I know in future he's not going to claim anything for me. So why should I pester him by sending him different n number of different calls? Rather, I can just use LLM, find a creative message and send it to him instead of either having anyone in the loop and the human in the loop. So that's what we are trying to merge both the worlds and make the GenAI more creative in this session. Again, with the fraud detection, what happens? Every claim comes through our claim system is gets tagged as fraud or not fraud. So there are different levels of fraud we determine. Now what happens is the investigator, not for the customer, the investigator who looks at the fraud gets to understand whether that claim is fraud or not, because we get a lot of lakhs of frauds, lakhs of claims in a month. So what happens is he cannot investigate every claim. So we need to have a straight through processing for some of the claims which helps in customer experience, basically. So what happens is there are some claims which are able to mark as sensitive, are very risky. So we just also need to understand why it was marked risky. Though explainability, the ML model gives us the explainability, but then again, that explainability in the ML model is very technical, is not understandable to an investigator who is not so ML savvy. So to make him explain and to give him a context, for example, what happens if I tell him these were the similar cases which were occurring in the past, so I think the claim which you are received is also a risky claim because these are the similar claims which are risky. So that gives him a better context which LLM will be able to provide him, rather than just giving him a textual context or me creating a message. So I will have to create a lot of different messages depending upon the explainability. But what a GenAI or an LLM would do is write a contextual message to him and give him relevant examples also to understand why I think this claim is a fraud claim and he should investigate further more. Again, for underwriting, so we are trying to build a model for underwriting. Explainability is provided. It's very technical. Ha. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Rule-based engine can do, but it will not become more contextual. I'll have to set a lot of rules in the background, depending upon his score, his risk score. In future, what happens is your product is changing. How much discounts you are going to give? You can build it in the system. That's true, but over the period of time, you want those systems, the rule-based system, to get automated in a workflow fashion, where you don't want to invest a lot of time in changing the workflows. Changing those workflows is going to be very time consuming because you'll have to go to the system, someone has to write a code and change the code. If it's an LLM based, it becomes easier for me. I just have to give the context to the LLM, maybe in terms of RAG or in terms of the context, or maybe in terms of, if it's, now it depends, is it real time or if it's a batch processor. So if it's a batch process, I can give as a vector RAG because the scores are already pre-computed. Because your insurance renewal comes once in a year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's actually the question you put is very interesting. Like, why do you want to hate existing traditional AI? In fact, I'm trying to bring that point.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
Why do you want to hate a traditional AI?
The traditional AI will do very specific task. For a churn, I will have to build one model. For retention, I will have to different model. Churn and retention are different. People think churn and retention are same. They're not same. They're different. If you look at the context, churn happens before renewal also. Because when you claim, your experience you get an experience of the organization, or when you reach out to an organization, when the problem occurs, you reach out to the organization, and that problem, how it is handled by the organization or the party, determines whether you will stay in that contract or will not stay in that contract, right? So your churn happens very prior to what the renewal. Renewal is depending upon his recent history, what he has done. I would be able to understand, because so that's what I said. These are two different models I will have to build. Again, there is a fraud model which I have to build. So traditional models will be very task specific. They are very task specific. Maybe earlier the rule-based engine is getting replaced by ML models now. Now a lot of people say the ML model will get replaced by GenAI. Probably in future, maybe true. Not as of today. So if you have to get a lot of investments from your stakeholders, if you tell them I will build everything GenAI specific, nobody is going to agree to it. So you need to identify in your value chain or in the business process which are areas where you think a small portion of a GenAI can help you gain some confidence with the business stakeholders to put him money. So once you get a confidence in one use case, obviously you have a platform ready. You just need to reframe it for a different problem. But your fraud model and a renewal model or a churn model is obviously going to stay different.
So the example that you're giving, for example,
just to interrupt you here, can we keep the questions and answers at the end of the session for the best interest of everybody else, right?
Second is underwriting, which is very important for a lot of organizations to do. At this point, a lot of underwriters take decision depending upon case-to-case basis. So what we have done, we have done a lot of different. So we built n number of ML models. Now what happens? You get a lot of different scores. How do we interpret those scores? Because one is your health risk score, one is your renewal score, one is your claim propensity score, one is your future claim propensity score, one is your risk score, one is your what kind of you can say people in my existing pool of risk, how they have fared. So we build different scores and it's thrown to an underwriter, which his life becomes very hellish and very difficult for him to take a decision. So what happens is, looking at all these scores and all this explainability, he have to understand what kind of loading in the sense, how much more premium I need to charge from a particular customer. That's how all the insurance companies do. Now, imagine you want to issue an insurance policy and underwriter is spending a lot of time doing evaluation of this scores, identifying your risk and coming up with a appropriate pricing policy. So there is a fixed pricing policy based on age. But then what happens is, depending upon your riskiness, the loadings get added or deleted. So you will either get a discount or a loading will get added onto your policy. So now to decide those policies, you have n number of different scores. What happens is, GenAI can help you understand what I'm trying to mean. All scores are trying to mean out of the scores. So the context given to the GenAI will help in understanding, okay, what I need to understand. Oh, this is a text written in a very easier format for him to understand what he need to decide, and there are recommendations given to him in a format. Just because of this, I'm able to recommend you this all policies. Possible discounting available through the organization can be given to the policies set by the organization. So for example, my organization, I can give only 20-15% maximum discount for such kind of people. That can be added, and the the text becomes very easier for him to understand, to take a decision. So you as an insurance customer, you are able to get a fast issuance of insurance rather than waiting for a long period of time. So a lot of areas we do in straight-through processing, wherein if you are a very young person with obviously with good good BMI, health, weight, and good health, obviously it's a straight-through processing. But what happens to people who are more riskier or people who are more age? It takes time for your policy to get issued, and that's how we want to improve the policy and give better context. So that's how I said we will have scores from ML model, and this rest part, the creativity part of understanding the explainability of the model is given by a machine learning expert. So for example, a lot of times and I've seen in my organization, when my data scientist people talk to the business, they absolutely understand nothing. They say what is garbage in, oh, I don't understand what is Hebrew, what he's talking about. So this model outcome gives them more easiness that they can understand the context easily in a human readable format. We can do it earlier also, but right now a lot of things have changed. So what helps is, this helps me, for example, if I know all those ML models are already in production, adding the GenAI piece becomes easier for me, because I just have to get a lesser buy-in for them, saying that it's going to make your life easier. Or the business stakeholders, it's going to make the underwriter's life easier. I don't need to have 10 different underwriters. I just need to show underwriter the outcome, and he can just take a decision on the fly, so his decision time reduces. That's how we are trying to merge both of the worlds. So typical integration methods, I think everyone talk about API. So most of the systems in most of the organization now are modular, driven by API. API connects to different applications, and they on the fly or real time. Now, if it's a real time, it's an API integration is the best at this point of time. But if it's a batch processing, you don't need to go for API integration, because that will result in a lot of time delays, because you have to hit an API and then to get a response. The model scores and then gives back to you. But for example, for fraud model is a real time. So whenever a claims come through, you get a sensitivity bucket of the risk. And every time there's a change in the claim. For example, we have seen a lot of times, once you raise a claim for a motor insurance, you give some documents. Investigator will ask for more evidence. He goes back and then again re-enters. The model gets triggered again. So the context keeps changing depending upon the input the user has given. And this is not shown to the end customer because it might confuse him. So the investigator is able to see a lot of the output which is generated by LLM or maybe the machine learning model. And that is real time. Second part is, if you know if it's a batch process, for example, I know these are the X number of people are going to renew in future, maybe next 2 to 3 months. Obviously, you get a renewal reminder by 40, 45 to 60 days. Similarly, we know we have pre-computed the model. What happens is I can just put it into my RAG framework or vector database and then use it for the contextual messaging. The most difficult nowadays, people are thinking about model as a library, which is like they put your model along with LLM, which is very time consuming, and I'm not sure, it creates a lot of inconsistencies in the result. Haven't tried, but this is also a way where you put your library or the model into the LLM so that LLM triggers it through its own processes. Right now, you know how it writes the code as well. You can compile the code and re-execute the code on the ChatGPT itself. So what I also believe, over the period of time, the coding is going to get erased by the GPTs of the world, because you don't have to spend much time coding. Even it takes very less time to code a lot of models, but end of the day, the context has to be given by the business, because we are solving complex business problems, not simple business problems. LM will generate the code, but end of the day, to improve or fine-tune that code, you can tell him to write hyperparameters, but end of the day, you understand what the context is. Sometimes you don't need the best of the model. You just need a crude model which solves the purpose, because we have seen in production, best of the models of best accuracy do not work in real life. So we just need to understand the time and complexity and then to develop the model. But this involves a lot of different challenges also. So one challenge is the integration challenge. So you have GenAI, which is already difficult to put it into production. Now you are trying to add a machine learning layer to it. Or maybe you have made so much time consumed, spent so much time making the ML model into production. Now you want to add a GenAI. So integration and maintenance becomes more complex, because then you will have to have an ML ops framework, which is always an afterthought in an organization. Maybe you would had a lot of sessions on ML ops, which is always an afterthought. When I was a developer or a data scientist, nobody told me about ML ops. But had I known it earlier, it would be easier for me now. But it was always an afterthought, because it was an investment made by, it was like, we want like moonshots project. There used to be moonshot projects earlier. We used to get investment, and we don't know whether they will succeed or not succeed. You don't know the probability of success is only 20 to 30%. Why would someone invest in ML ops? But now we know the success rate has increased over the period of time. The GenAI success will also increase over the period of time. So now we are talking about GenAI, responsible AI, model governance. These are coming into picture. Earlier they were maybe SAS used to talk about, because for clinical trials maybe, but now everyone is talking about. Then if you have two models working in tandem, I think earlier people also told that there are 4 LLMs working in tandem. Obviously, it's going to have a conflict. You can add weightages, but over the period of time, it will start adding conflicts. So you need to manage that conflicts. So those all complexities depicted, and again, all the models which you build over the period of time, or whatever models you build, data is at the core center front. People tend to forget that, okay, GenAI has come. Again, you talk about OpenAI, or you talk about DeepSeek, but end of the day, you always talk about what data, kaun se data pe trained hai. You talk about which data it is trained into. So same applies to your internal data also. If your data is not rich, obviously your models are not going to be richer. So the rich data will give you a good model, a richer data will give you a better model, but a bad data will give you nothing, garbage. So you won't be able to do on an AI ML journey or on a GenAI. There could be some use cases which you can do without your organization data also, like call center automation does not much need your organizational data, it just need the data from call center. So some use cases can be done, but end of the day, call center automation, I'm talking to a lot of vendors and a lot of companies where they have wanted to replace their call center with an agents. And they said, पहले भी 16 रुपए खर्चा आ रहा था, आज भी 16 रुपए खर्चा आ रहा है. कुछ difference हुआ नहीं. Because the platform is taking a lot of cost, or maybe developers, I'm hiring a lot of AI experts which are more expensive now. Earlier, which used to be done by simple people with lesser salary. So earlier भी मैं 16 रुपए खर्चा कर रहा था, आज भी मैं 16 रुपए खर्चा कर रहा हूँ, तो कोई difference आया नहीं. So that's what people are talking about. Because when we sell, obviously we sell, okay, it will get reduced by 1/4, but आज भी खर्चा उतना ही आ रहा है. So have I gained something? I don't know. Or because I have complicated my process now. Earlier it was easier. I could just reduce 10 people to 4 people and my cost gets reduced. 4 people will handle, they will overwork maybe. But customer experience would have hindered. Now we just need to talk about business metrics which we define. It's customer experience है तुम्हारा, ये ROI है. ROI तो definitely नहीं है. So maybe let's hope customer experience तो improve हुआ हो. So we just need to balance it out कि क्या improve हुआ है. But end of the day, when the CEO and CTO ask for, or CMO ask, it's end of the day, it's all about how much revenue, how many sales you have done over the period of time. If your sales are reduced, I don't think GenAI had made sense in our organization altogether. I think I will conclude earlier, maybe. And I just wanted to say that it's not about building fancy models. I mean, a lot of people will talk about building fancier models which may not help the cause for the business to sell more policies, sell more SIM cards, or sell more products, FMCG products, or maybe they might look better in terms of listing on Amazon maybe, because you have generated a better content, faster, cheaper, better, but your products are not getting sold. End of the day depends on the product. So all those initiatives might go for a toss if you have no ROI or revenue generated from after all these difficult activities. You are not able to substantiate with your revenue increment or anything sales. So I know AI, GenAI or AI model looks fancier, but you just need to make sure, keep your head straight saying ki this can be done by rule engine. Obviously I will not use a GenAI here. Can be done by rule engine as of today. Let's do it by rule engine. If it can be done by ML, let's do it by ML. If you think you are thinking very futuristic and you want to create a proof of concept and then deploy into production, yes, think about GenAI, but it will involve a lot of cost and effort. So end of the day, whatever you build, maybe workflows, tasks, it should result into creating automated workflows, automated tasks, and automated decision making. And it has to be used and run every day. It's not just POC में बना दिया, 4 महीने use कर ले, बाद में बंद कर लिया. नहीं. It has to be embedded into your organization system, culture, value, so that it gets used day in and day out. So And that's what, it should power your business every single day. And that's thought I would like to end this. Okay, any questions? Let me know, I think. That's it. I hope किसी को बोर नहीं किया मैंने.
We are open for questions, folks.
You can ask questions.
Yes, you can continue to ask your questions. Sorry about that.
I've completed
Getting
earlier.
Is there any specific GenAI that you guys moved to production? If so, can you give a little glimpse of what is that implementation?
I can talk about it, but I'm not supposed to talk about it in Tata AIG context.
Okay.
I can talk about it separately, not in the podium.
Fine.
But
No,
yes,
generic.
we have hosted locally, open and private both. So we have an experience of hosting both with our own money. We haven't used any API-based calls. We have hosted it on locally. We are also working with partners. I think we are working with 2 partners saying, we have developed it, can you make it much more cheaper? So, and that's how currently the stage is. We have few use cases which are only GenAI specific.
Yeah, I have one question. Like in one of the slides you mentioned, like you're not recommending the model as library.
I am not recommending the model as library at this point of time. It's difficult because then you have to put your model within the LLM, maybe fine tune your LLM as per your library, put your you imagine deploying it on your local or a code as a separate code along with LLM. I don't think it's easier to do at this point of time. Maybe in future, people are doing it, because then what happens is I don't have to do API calls or build a vector framework, because again, lot of calls you must have seen, it says कि vector framework से data retrieve करने को भी time लगता है, real time API से भी करने को call लगता है. Now it depends. My internal business stakeholder is okay for 5 seconds or 10 seconds wait, because we have ensured कि 10 seconds तो लगेगा, क्योंकि office का internet is only slow. So you cannot help. You have seen, you open intranet of your offices, your time sheets, pages sometimes takes more time to load. So you are more okay to wait if you are an employee. But if you are a customer, you will get discouraged saying कि my Zomato page or Swiggy page is not opening. Oh, I need more faster response. But we internal है ना, तो थोड़ा चल जाता है. So we have maintained कि 5 to 10 seconds तो लगेगा. So they wait. So उधर it's fine. API call. API is expensive. When API becomes expensive, then I would think about putting it, because then it's easier for me, because I'm already hosting a framework, I'm spending money. But API is still cheaper at this point of time, and it also depends upon how many API calls per day you get. If my company become very, मतलब बहुत customers आ जाएंगे तो फिर I will think about it.
Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. I guess you mentioned, right, it's a costly affair because we are not sure of the output. In the renewal process, primarily if you talk about motor insurance or something else, right? At the time of renewal, if you are not calling, then there are 10 other people, right, who will be calling the same person. How do you know that your GenAI will help you to kind of achieve that revenue?
That's a good question. Now I'll tell you what happens is, the only 60% of the cases, or 60 to 65% of cases churn for one insurance company because of price. Tomorrow, if maybe one of my friends from Vodafone is working, old Vodafone employee, my old friend of mine, we know if I give a 20 rupees discount, obviously no people are going to recharge on my only per month. Same applies there also. So if some company is going to give it a cheaper, the GenAI goes for a toss, obviously I tell. But end of the day, it depends on the experience. So if some people are okay to pay more because of the experience, so we are still, the top 4 or 5 service providers or insurance providers, because about the experience or the same experience we give to the customer. So it's like, if it's a big company,
Tata,
obviously.
Tata as a brand, right?
If it's a big brand, and apparently it's more ethical in terms of, and lot of insurance companies or issues which you get on LinkedIn are very isolated cases. Example, 2 out of 100 cases hote hain. But the 2 cases get highlighted because good people who have good experience never talk about their good experience, because unko paisa mil gaya, they are happy and they went. Saif Ali Khan is not going to bitch about what has happened to it. Obviously, he got money, he's well left. So, वही होता है कि if you have an insurance, you will get claim depending upon whatever add-ons or policy you have subscribed for, or you just need to read the policy document. Earlier, a lot of mis-selling has to happen, but that has stopped over the period of time. And now with GenAI, obviously it's going to stop, because you saw a lot of use cases here or in the other auditorium wherein You can obviously ask question to LLM and LLM give you answers about the policies. And it's very transparent. And with agents, human agents, obviously their core is upselling or cross-selling. They will sell you more. But right now we are also working on a lot of use cases wherein we want to all of the recordings which get recorded, obviously. And then we go back and do surveillance in terms of what was supposed to happen and what he did. So you can build a GenAI models depending upon what was the expected outcome from that conversation and what was pitched by the agent. And then you can generate agent scores basis that. So you can help train an agent better, or you can identify better agents. So the incentive can be based on that. So all those use cases we are currently, I mean, some of them are in progress, some of, so maybe.
Thank you.
Okay, I was able to answer all your questions and ज़्यादा बोर नहीं किया हम लोगों को मैंने. ठीक है, चलो, thanks a lot. Bye guys. Have a nice day. And thanks for attending this session.